In a dark room, 4 mercenaries drop dead to the floor, causing Andy to think about all the time she died and wonder if this is her last time. It all begins a day before in Morocco when Andy meets with Booker to chat about a possible new job for them. And he hesitates because she doesn't want to fight anymore, but Booker convinces her to at least come back to the hotel and see the others on their way there. And he notices some girls taking a picture that accidentally includes her. So she makes up an excuse to borrow the phone and delete every evidence of their presence. At the hotel, they reunite with couple, Nikki and Joe. After a long time, all the guys want to take the job, but Andy is still hesitant because she doesn't trust Copley and they have a rule to never work with the same employer twice. In the end, they convince her to go with Booker to have a meeting with Copley, just to see what he has to say. Sometime later, Andy and Booker sit outside at a cafe while Nikki and Joe watch from the hotel window, just in case Copley arrives and explains everything. He decided to take a break from the CIA when his wife got sick. But when she died, he couldn't bring himself to go back. Nowadays, he pays himself for these kinds of jobs and wants their team to do this one. The mission would be saving some hostages in South Sudan. And when Copley says how they could help make a big difference, and he finally accepts afterward, the team flies to South Sudan and waits for night to fall to strike. They silently kill all the guards outside one by one, and then sneak through the fence to kill a few more. The building's door is destroyed with a small explosive, but when they make it inside, they're shocked to discover that there actually are no hostages. He realizes they've been set up right before a bunch of soldiers enter the room and open fire, causing the team to fall to the ground with blood spreading around them. Thinking the team is dead, the soldiers turn their backs, but soon the team's bodies start to heal rapidly and even expel all the bullets. The 4 of them soon get up from the ground and kill all the soldiers with a variety of fighting techniques, not caring if they get hurt in the process. All this is seen by Copley through security cameras, which Andy notices and destroys the next morning. The team buries their bloody clothes in the sand and discusses their options. He says that they have to find Copley and kill him because they know their secret. They're centuries-old warriors with regenerative healing abilities who work to help people as mercenaries. But after they find Copley, she has decided she'll be done fighting for the world. Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, Soldier, Nile of the American forces is on a mission to check on a group of women that might be held hostage by an enemy. When she finds them, they silently send her in the direction of the man. And Nile enters the building with her team, quickly shooting the guy in the chest. Then Nile moves to check on the body, but the man slices her throat. A teammate rushes to cover Nile's wound, but she still dies. At that moment, the team is sleeping on a train and they begin having dreams of Nile being killed. While in the medic tent, Nile is alive and dreaming of the team in return. The team wakes up and realizes that these dreams mean that there's another one of them, which frustrates Andy because she wants to get this done quickly. The guys have to convince her this is a sign and they need to find Nile. So Andy says she'll go do it herself while they work on tracking down Copley. They agree to meet in France later. Back to Nile, she realizes her friends are all wary of her now because she doesn't even have a scar from the injury. The incident is reported on the higher-ups. Decide to send Nile to Germany for some testing. An upset Nile returns to her tent and her mood gets worse when she discovers that her friends have already packed her things. In England, pharmaceutical executive Merritt gives a presentation about stem cell research, telling a wealthy public that he has the technology to end human disease and prolong our lifespan. All he needs is investment. Afterward, Merrick meets with Copley, who shows him the footage of Andy's team coming back to life. However, Merrick is unhappy, explaining that he needs hard evidence because people will just think the video was edited. He needs Copley to capture them and bring them to him. While Now waits for a helicopter to pick her up and he cuts in and knocks all the guards out before doing the same denial. Moments later, Nile wakes up in the trunk of an army vehicle driven by Andy and immediately tries to escape by kicking out the back. Nile falls to the ground and Andy quickly stops driving to go after her, so Nile tries to run away, but Andy stops her by shooting the back of her head. Then Andy waits for Nile to come back to life and now responds by stabbing her on the shoulder. Andy isn't bothered and tells her that if she wants answers, she'll have to come with her. Afterward, Andy and Nile take a plane to France that is currently participating in a trafficking operation. He calls the team to inform them. She's got the girl, but they don't have info on Copley yet. Before they leave and he destroys her phone, then she tells Niall about her team and the fact they have no idea why they're immortal, but Niall doesn't find these vague answers very satisfying. After Andy falls asleep, Niall binds her to her chair and holds a gun to the pilot's head to make him fly back. When Andy wakes up, she talks to the pilot in Russian telling him to play dead, so she can distract Niall. Andy pretends to shoot the pilot and the plane starts falling. When Andy says she knows how to pilot, Niall releases her. Then the pilot regains control of the plane and corrects their course back to France while Niall and Andy get in a fight with way more years of experience and easily wins and gives Niall some serious wounds to calm her down as the girl watches her injuries heal on their own. He finally convinces her to collaborate. Later in France, they meet with the rest of the team in an old abandoned church where they have dinner and now gets to learn more about the team. Booker became immortal in the 18th century. Nikki and Joe were enemies of the Crusades and Andy says that she is the oldest, but doesn't remember her actual age. The team also tells Niall that it is possible for them to die, but it is very rare. After an immortal has been alive for long enough, their wounds just stop healing, indicating it's their time. Afterward they all go to sleep except for Andy, who stays on a chair in the living room. In the middle of the night, Niall has a nightmare that wakes everyone up. She explains that she saw a woman in a coffin drowning in the sea, and the team tells her that was Quinn, another immortal that used to fight alongside Andy back. Then they had been attempting to free women accused of witchcraft, but they were caught and accused of witchcraft themselves. Soon, the town realized they couldn't die, so they made a special plan. They separated the women and locked Queen in an iron coffin which was thrown into the ocean. Since then, Queen has been drowning over and over, reviving and dying again forever, upset by this story. Now rushes outside and Andy follows her to tell her they're all she's got. Suddenly they hear Copley soldiers arrive. As Copley watches everything from a surveillance van, the women go back inside and discover that Joe and Nikki are nowhere to be found and Booker has been blown up by a grenade, which takes a while to heal, then now waits with Booker while Andy goes after the soldiers. Once again, she jumps into the fight without caring about getting hurt and defeats everyone in seconds, which causes Copley to go away in fear. Once it's over, the group packs the things and goes looking for another hideout. Meanwhile, Joe and Nikki wake up in advance surrounded by soldiers who make fun of them for being a couple and keep them apart when they try to kiss. Soon, the van takes them to an airport, but when the doors are opened, it's revealed that Joe and Nikki have killed everyone while still being handcuffed. Copley puts them on a plane to England and takes them to see Merrick, who stabs them for fun, as he explains that he'll put them through experiments until he figures out how to make the human lifespan longer. Next, Nikki and Joe are sedated and sent to a lab while Merrick demands that Copley bring him the others too, back to Andy. Booker and Niall take shelter in an abandoned mine where Niall is shocked to find all the old treasure and original art they hid there. While Booker tells Niall about his dead kids in the pain of living forever while their loved ones die, and he realizes that her wounds aren't healing. She leaves the mine to drive to a pharmacy in town where she buys medical supplies and is surprised when the cashier offers to help dress her wounds in the back room. When Andy asks why the woman is helping a stranger without asking any questions, the woman says that she expects Andy to pass on the act of kindness to someone else tomorrow, which leaves Andy thinking about the people she's lost. In Merrick's lab, Joe and Nikki are kept strapped down to chairs while the doctors keep taking samples. Copley points out that Merrick has all the samples he could ever need, so they don't need to hold the duo hostage anymore, but Merrick says he'll do whatever he wants and he won't stop until his results. Nikki tries telling the doctor that people have done the same experiments on them in the past, and it's never worked, but the doctor ignores him. Sometime later in the middle of the night, Now wakes up from a bad dream and decides to go outside for fresh air. She finds Andy going through her phone and all shares some stories about her family, but Andy sadly doesn't remember hers. Soon Booker meets with them to say that he's found Copley's location and they immediately head off. When they arrive at the address, Booker leaves to scout the area while Andy gives Niall a weapon. However, Niall announces she doesn't want to help, saying she wants to spend as much time with her family as she can before. It's too late. Andy decides to let her take the car, only asking her to get rid of the rest of the weapons on the way. Once she's far enough, Niall opens the trunk and realizes Andy took the wrong bullets for her weapon. At the facility, Andy and Booker sneak inside and go upstairs to find Copley. They immediately hold him at gunpoint, but suddenly Booker shocks Andy by shooting her in the side and restraining her. He explains that he set them up on purpose because he wants Merrick to figure out some way to kill them, so they don't have to suffer anymore. And Copley wants the cure that could have saved his wife. However, when Booker realizes Andy isn't healing, he starts to panic.